When were you born and where were you born?
July 8th, 1935. And I was born in the house in American Fork. Yeah, they had an upstairs. This is what it was. They had one level, and then there was a basement, and then they had the roof went up like this, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they had, I'll explain that later, but we lived on the main floor, and some of them we had a round, big round tub, but that's what they bathe you in. I see, I had to go, I went up on the top, up there, in order to have my bed, and they had these boards going across, and we just lay them other boards across so we could walk to our bed. And they didn't have an outside, the inside restroom. We had to go outside to the bathroom. And that was wonderful. No matter cold weather like this, yeah. And they didn't have tissue like this. We used paper.
Wow.
And that didn't do a very good job either.
Sears catalog paper.
Huh?
Sears catalog paper.
Like, if that's what, I don't think we had a Sears catalog. We had maybe a newspaper or something.
Who were your parents?
Otten and Bernice Whiteley. They lived in Orem, and she lived in Vineyard. And that's just west of the upper part of Orem. And my dad did a lot of buying hay and things of this sort, and working and helping other people. And that's how they met. Oh, my brother and sisters. Okay.
There's 6 of you.
The 6 of us total, counting me. So that's 5, right? All. Leora, Marie, and Mary Lou. I had 3 sisters ahead of me, and you know who was boss, don't you? But I worked on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they dressed him up.
And I had chores all the time to do.
Mm-hmm.
We had to milk cows by hand. I had to milk 6 head of cows every morning and night by hand before I'd go to school and as soon as I got home. Kids nowadays have no idea what am I going to do today. I had no question of what I was going to do today. All summer long I was either working out in the fields, hauling hay, hoeing tomatoes, corn, field corn, and all things like that. I had something to do all the time. No question about what to do. I had a dog. Well, you know, they were just animals, and we all just treated them alike, and we liked the dogs. We used the dog, and he was, if we had cattle that was going to haul, put in a truck and haul it away to sell it, you know, for beef or whatever. The thing that we had, if we ever had any problem with a cow getting in the truck, why, the dog would be right there helping us get them in. Well, probably once in a while, we had a 1.5-ton truck, and they put us kids in the back, and we'd go to Lagoon. We went to Lagoon, that'd be maybe once a year, not all the time. But, and then we would do picnics as a family. We had my dad, my mother, and her sister married brothers. So they weren't too far away, and we'd get together and go out and have picnics and whatever, something like that. Hobbies, I just love to be with horses and riding them, and I also used to play softball. They never had baseball back, and it was for the younger kids anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I played softball if I ever got a chance. After I got my chores done, or if I didn't have to do the chores that day, not very often that happened. That's what was going on with us. Linden Grade School
Mm-hmm.
and Pleasant Grove High School.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, how was it?
She's going to tell me about
No,
it.
I'm not. I don't know.
Well, in the kindergarten, I sloughed it. I'd take the kids would take me to go, my sisters would take me to go to school. As soon as they left, I'd go hide back and hide in the ditch. So when all the other people were coming, they wouldn't see me. And all of a sudden, one of the neighbors there saw me and told my parents. So they sent one of my siblings, I think it was another sister, out to get me and take me home. And then they kept telling me that if I go to primary, was it primary? No.
Kindergarten?
And stay, I could have a horse. Oh boy, that made it interesting. But I didn't do that either. And then to go to school, we had to walk to school. It was like snow. We'd make a shortcut. We'd walk out through the fields and climb fences to go over to get to the school. It was a mile away. So, and we were freezing. We got our hands were so froze. But anyway, this is the way it was for us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any wonderful things like they have nowadays. These kids are spoiled. No, I never even thought much about it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably figured I was going to end up on a farm.
Yeah. And did you?
No, in fact, I was going to buy some land down there by my dad's property, and thought maybe I'd be able to be together with him and make a living from there. And my dad said that it would be more, I have to do that, be fine, but we'd have to get a lot more cows, and we'd have to have a lot more land in order to take care of them and feed them. And basically like that, he said it would be pretty hard to do. So I didn't do that. So I went to work at Meadow Gold Dairy in the ice cream department.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I ended up in the dairying business.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you serve your mission?
I served in North Central States, which took in the headquarters was Minneapolis, Minnesota. Eastern half, northern half of North and South Dakota. And North Dakota, and then it's just one portion of South Dakota. And then it took in all of Minnesota.
What callings have you served in throughout your life?
Oh, geez. Well, I've been Elders Quorum president. I've been ward clerk. I've been a missionary several times in the ward and also in the stake. And we've worked together with the senior adults. I've been in many colleges, I can't remember them all.
Do you have a testimony you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely, I do. I know the gospel is true. And this is another experience I had before I went on a mission. I'll tell you about it. All my friends was going on missions, they went. And here I am, I haven't done anything, wasn't thinking of it. But our bishop, he asked me if I was going to go on a mission. I says, would you like to go on? I says, oh sure, that sounds like a good idea. Somehow, they come back, finally he was going to come over and talk to me and my parents and see about going on a mission when I was going to be able to go. And when he came to the door, my parents had already left to have me go somewhere. This is when I was on the farm. And as soon as they came to the door, they told my parents I wasn't home, and I said, I've changed my mind, I don't want to go. I was just putting them off, just appeasing them, whatever you need, whatever, is that the right word? Anyway, Bishop said, will you do one thing for me? I said, sure, what's that? Will you kneel down by the bed and say your prayers and ask Heavenly Father if you're to go on a mission? I said, oh yeah, sure, I can handle that. And all of a sudden, I was working at Medical Dairy in the ice cream, but it was during the winter time when you closed down the plant in front. And so we're as far as making novelties and stuff, you know what I mean? Anyway, I was in the ice cream freezer loading trucks. And just before this all happened, before that, I knelt down by my bed and said, well, I better do what the bishop asked me to do, and I told him I would. So I did. I knelt down by my bed and asked Heavenly Father if I was to go on a mission. And I was in the ice cream department, loading trucks, and all of a sudden it came to me so strong, you're to go on a mission. I couldn't wait to get home to tell the bishop I really wanted to go. And I didn't have it before. But I knew the gospel was true right from that point on. And then I got out in the mission field. And I don't know how many missionaries are like this, but they go out and they don't really have a testimony of the gospel. They didn't read the scriptures or any of that stuff, but went. But what got me also is you go out and you go to visit a family and you to bear your testimony. I couldn't do that. I couldn't bear my testimony until I knew for sure it was. So I knew I had a lot of work to do. So that's when I started reading the Book of Mormon. I'd never read it before. Started reading the Book of Mormon and studying the gospel and learning more about it. And as I kept praying about it, learning more about it, I gained a strong testimony, and I could tell them that the people that we met, I do have met a testimony of the gospel. I knew it was true. Because I did know it was true. It was very important to me, and I would have ever thought that I would end up like I was. But I was thankful for that. So I'm thankful for you guys, for my family. I'm thankful for all of you guys. I'm thankful for all the people we are able to meet with in the church. Thankful for the opportunities of working in the temple with my wife and be able to work in the temple. I'm thankful for that, and I sure hope that we'll soon be able to get back to the temple again.
I was born the 1st of November, 1943, in Tacoma, Washington, in a hospital. Not a house, a hospital. But see, it's kind of different.
Yeah. Who are your parents?
No, that's a good question. Not too sure. Really? Oh gosh. My grandparents adopted me right out of the hospital. I had no say in this at all. I didn't think that's fair at all.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have had to come that way and go through everything I've gone through. But anyway, so they adopted me right out of the hospital and then kept it a secret. So all my life I called them Grandma and Grandpa, which they were truly my grandparents. But evidently my real parents, or my real mother didn't want me, I guess, right then, because she wasn't married. Yeah. So I'm not too sure who the dad was.
So is it your grandma and grandpa, were they the Sweets? Or
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But then when the mother that really gave me birth is one of their children.
Gotcha.
One of their daughters. They had 7 of them, so.
Wow.
One of them. So, she was kind of a wild thing, boy, here, but anyway, I didn't live with her. I lived with my grandparents. They raised me, but made me go by her married name when she finally got married to somebody.
Mm. And what was that?
Parker.
Parker.
I didn't.
Hmm.
Yeah, Parker.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that has actually been the biggest trauma in my whole life.
Yeah.
Is that thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
I remember reading about that. That's in that book you gave us. A little bit about your history there.
Actually, it was just, yeah. I mean, I had a fairly good life. They weren't rich, my grandparents. They didn't have very much money. He was the custodian of our chapel, and she would go down and help him. But I think they raised me fine. They taught me to don't lie and be good and don't do any bad things. And so it's like, okay, I won't do anything.
So I guess growing up with them, you didn't grow up with siblings?
No.
No.
They lived all around us, though, most of them. Some of them lived in Utah, but I was born in Tacoma, Washington.
Right.
So there was 3 of them that lived up there. And
Gotcha.
the rest lived in Utah. So, but I mean, we did a few things. They were older. They're a lot older, another generation.
Yeah.
That's like we'd be our age now and then adopt that baby. Yeah, that little girl. That's what it would be like.
Yeah.
So, so I took a lot of guff from them, some of them that just thought that they were giving me everything, and that they grew up and didn't have much of anything. And so they just, didn't treat me too well.
Mm-hmm.
The siblings.
Right.
Not all of them, but the ones out of state did.
Mm-hmm.
But the others. And I got hand-me-down clothes from one of my cousins. I guess that would be a cousin. But anyway, so
did you, since you didn't have siblings, did you grow up with childhood friends that were able to keep company?
I wasn't too allowed to do that.
No?
No, we lived in a Catholic area. I mean, the Catholic church was around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Big, huge one. Right across from my elementary school. No, I pretty well had to stay around and play with Mormon people.
Mm-hmm. So I guess you were raised Mormon then?
Oh, yeah.
A member of the church, yeah.
Yep. No question about that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Did you have any childhood pets?
I remember a dog named Trixie, but it wasn't my dog. It was the other ones that lived there through the years. I remember when it died.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't very nice. I didn't like that. But
You never do.
no, that was hard. But that's the only thing I remember around the house. We didn't even have a fish. A fish bowl or anything. Nothing.
How about family traditions? Did you do anything with your grandparents? Any special events that you'd like to do?
No trips. No, there was a park out in where we lived called Point Defiance Park. It was it was big. They had a 5-mile drive, and it was just gorgeous with, the beautiful trees and the ferns, the vegetation they had up there, and then when you come out on one end of it, it's the water, all beautiful water, which was Puget Sound. But it was, there's boats there, you can swim in it and stuff, and you had to be careful because they have jellyfish there, and they warned us, don't go too far in there and get a jellyfish because they'll burn you and then you'll have poison in your leg. Hey, I won't go swimming. I wasn't going to get hurt. No. Didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. What kind of hobbies did you have growing up?
Hobbies. I don't know. I didn't have a hobby. I read books. I read the encyclopedias.
Oh my goodness.
Excuse me. Yeah, I read the encyclopedia.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the shelf. That's what I read. But I don't regret it because I learned a lot.
Definitely. What was school like for you?
I liked school. It was hard because I wore big glasses and I couldn't see too well for a long time before I got glasses. So I got knocked around a lot. It was different. I mean, I went to kindergarten we had to have a couple houses for the school because school burned down. And so we went to school for 2 years in houses, empty houses. But it wasn't that far away. It was by the Catholic Church. Excuse me. Anyway.
Did you have a favorite teacher or favorite subject?
I liked it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a favorite teacher. I had a couple of them. I had a real good 6th grade teacher. She was nice to me. I mean, they were all nice to me, but she was just exceptionally spent a little extra time. And then in high school, are we talking about high school yet?
Sure.
Oh, in high school, my favorite one was my music teacher. And, he was great. Loved him to death. And he was just a very, very good teacher. I learned all my music stuff, skills from him. And he was very nice. We did a lot of extracurricular things. I was in choir. I mean, I started in Bill's chorus, and he whipped me out and put me in choir. Yeah, and then I ended up in a madrigal group of about 8 of us that we'd go around and sing around the city, and that was fun. I loved that.
That's cool. What was dating life like in high school?
I couldn't date.
No dating in high school.
No, that's what they said. You're not dating any of the boys in high school.
Wow.
They weren't LDS, and I couldn't date them. Which I didn't care anyway. They were stupid. They were stupid. They were awful. They treated girls stupid. They were always throwing papers and things at them, and I don't know.
Immature.
So I guess I figured out my folks knew what they were talking about. I never went to any dances, school dances or anything. No, not allowed.
What was your goal or your aspirations after high school?
Oh, heavens knows. I don't know.
That's okay.
Well, I don't know. I thought about a mission, but he stopped me.
Yeah? Well, we can get to that story in just a minute.
Yeah, really.
Good.
So I didn't do too much. I do remember growing up, I got to do ballet with a bunch of little kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ballet, but it's with little kids, so they just do funny little things. To be graceful, I guess.
Sure.
Was it? But
Did you go to college?
no.
Grandpa stopped you from that
college.
too? Okay.
No, I didn't get a chance. Well, I had a scholarship until he showed up.
Mm. What callings did you serve in?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. In that book should be the paper that has probably, I think, all of what we both had done during the years.
Sure. That's great. Do you have any special?
They were all music, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
I never got to be a teacher. They were all about music, everything. I have done music in everything you can think of. I mean, I've done primary, Sunday school they had. I did Relief Society. Well, I didn't do the men's until I did the choir. I was directing choir when I was 14 in Tacoma. So I learned a lot there. And then I played the plink around on the piano at home. I had a few piano lessons, but they couldn't afford anymore, so I just did what I could do. And then I remember the thing that sticks out of my mind the most is, I always come home and play stupid little tunes and stuff, or the hymns that I could play. And then one day, I was just running up and down the scales with, like they give you for choir, because we were supposed to do that when I was in choir. And so I did that. If I was in junior high then, I was just in the chorus, but we had to do, the runs. And I was doing that up and down, up and down, up and down, and going higher and higher, and I felt my voice and my throat just crack. It was just kind of a funny feeling, and then all of a sudden it just trailed up and kept going and going and going. And my grandmother ran. I heard her running from the kitchen into the living room, and she stood there at the piano and she says, "Was that you singing?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Do it again." And I said, "Okay." So I did it again, and she just couldn't believe it. She just sat down and cried. My voice just kept going higher and higher and higher, and I thought, how did I do that? And then I remember every day I would check it, because I thought, gee, what happened to me? What happened to my throat? Which now I can't sing a note. They stuffed too much junk down my throat, I guess. Anyway, so that became my life after that. My life, I was everywhere singing, and but I loved it. So I had no trouble getting in that choir in high school. No trouble at all. He just threw me in there. Here and then into his madrigal group they called it, and I just was singing until a couple of years ago.
Did you ever think about joining the formerly known as the Mormon Tabernacle Choir?
Oh yes, I thought about it, but then I had 5 kids. You know, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to get them to church and do everything they're supposed to do and get them through school, and I ended up, well, let's see, your dad would sing and Todd would sing. Todd would go out with me and I'd do programs in the area here, and he'd just go with me and sing with me. We'd dress up, and especially at Christmas time, it was fun to dress up. I had a little girl costume, looked like a cute little girl costume, you know, and he'd go out with me and sing with me, and we had a good time. I had more fun after that I met him than I'd ever had in my whole entire life. So as for mission, was not an option. I mean, it wasn't. It was just they had no money to send me, and I knew they would never have any money to send me.
Do you have a testimony you could share with us?
Oh, certainly. I think I got my testimony when I was in seminary. Seminary was the love of my life. I loved that, and we had to go at 6 in the morning. And then we'd walk to school, to high school. That was probably another hour of walking. We got driven to the church, because that's where our seminary was. But then we had to walk to high school. But I loved that. I mean, I was just soaking in everything I could find. And they had a lot of church books, so I had my nose in those things. But, oh yeah. I mean, I still have a strong testimony, so hasn't left me ever.
All right, Grandma and Grandpa, how did you meet each other? You remember, Grandpa, how you met?
Yes. I was in the military. I wanted to go to church because some of us missionaries wanted to go to church in the Lord. But the only thing they had was just
Louder.
only thing that they wanted to have there on base was just go to a preacher, somebody read the scriptures to you. And so we looked up in the phone book and found out a ward. The closest one we could find is Tacoma, Washington. So I had my car there, and so we all got in the car and we went to church at Tacoma. And that's where I met her.
Met her at church?
Yep.
You just walk up and approach her, saw some cute girl, and...
No. We had some missionaries there that they were introducing us to the young ladies in Lord.
Is that when we were? I don't know.
What'd you think of Grandpa when you met him?
I don't remember meeting him.
No?
She didn't like men at all, boys at all. I don't want nothing to do with nobody.
Well, I kind of was told that they're nothing but trouble growing up, so that's very true. So I didn't have time for it. I directed the choir.
Mhm.
Did I sing in the church that day? Sing up there?
No, you didn't.
Was I doing the choir that day?
You was leading the singing.
Oh, leading the singing. Oh, I did that too. Gosh. Anyway, and so then I had to go and teach a class, a little nursery class. No, it wasn't nursery. I don't remember what it was. And so we had these missionaries up there that were just determined they were going to introduce. We had gobs of girls. I mean, there was maybe close to 30 of us. Late 20s or 30 anyway. And they were determined we were going to meet all these guys, and I don't know, I mean, it must have been a dozen of them. And so they were, when we come out of the chapel to go, you know, to our classes, they were funneling all the girls along this line to meet all these guys. And I was coming out the other door, and the one caught me, and he says, "No, you have to go over here." No, I said, "I don't have to do anything you tell me." I was really mad at him. And you know, he pulled me over there, and he says, "Nope, you're going to go through this line first." I says, "Well, I got to hurry up. I have to teach a class." So I just, you know, "Hello, hello, how are you? Hello, hello, hello," and I was gone. All right?
That isn't the way I got it.
How'd you get it?
Well, we had already went through, but you were not. You didn't. You was up on the stand, working with, about getting your music lined up and getting ready. This is after sacrament meeting, and all the girls and all the rest had went through already. And here come this Kathleen coming down, and the missionary says,
Oh no, don't say it.
said,
I know.
"This is Rosebud."
Oh my God. Oh, stop it.
So they introduced us to Rosebud.
I went through the line just like the rest of them. I might have been the last one, but I just went through it by
Well,
myself.
you didn't go through with them. You were later. So anyway,
I was
Okay.
getting my choir music ready.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, we had Sunday school in the morning. You go home and eat, and you come back like about 5, 6 o'clock for a sacrament meeting.
Wow.
It was different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really different now too, but it was really different. So we had to get ready. I knew, you know, I had choir practice to go to, and so I was just messing around getting everything ready, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So after you'd met, what was your first date?
you're gonna ask me.
Well, he.
I'll tell you. Well, some other missionary, a young man was with me, a good friend of mine. The missionaries wanted us to meet these girls, and so I thought, get acquainted to them. So we went over and started talking to him, and he says, "Would you like to go out?" Not to her, but to her girlfriend.
That's well, no way they didn't do that.
All right, you
I
tell
thought
her.
he called her.
Okay,
You're telling a different story.
go for it.
That's all right. Maybe you might remember how you proposed to Grandma.
How did I propose to you?
I don't know.
I took her out to my car, and I had a ring. I had a furlough for a short time to go home and come back. While I was down there, I bought a ring and took back up there because I'd already dated her before. So I wasn't sure about this, and she didn't want to really come out to the car with me, but she did, and I asked her to marry me, and I think she said yes.
He didn't tell you about the bus trips we took. The bus trip going up to Seattle to a dance thing or something we
Oh,
did.
besides that, before I forget, she was in the madrigal
I
class.
told him that.
But anyway, she sang at the World Fair
All right, that's enough. Why do you tell everybody that?
because it was a very important part of her life. You loved music. She loved to sing. She had the most beautiful voice to sing you could ever imagine. She had all the
You're
pictures
partial.
of
You're
it.
just partial.
Yeah. Anyway, did I do something wrong?
No, you're doing
No.
great.
No, you didn't do anything wrong.
Anyway, That's where she was in the. That's how another thing I got to know her before. Then she said something about a bus trip. Well, she said it. Where do you live? And I says, in Utah. She says, oh, you like it down there? I said, sure, I love it down there. Would you like to go down there?
You
Live?
said, would you like to go home with me, is what he
I
said.
didn't say that way.
Yes, you did, and I looked at you like, what?
I was always harassing her. She said,
Like I was going to go home with somebody.
so anyway, she said, it would be nice to go down and see what Utah is like. Because you'd been down there to be baptized for the dead, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was all. We went on a caravan in cars for 2 years, 2 different years. Oh, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't do anything fun. We went in the temple. I just remember that temple, have something to eat, and then we drove home.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long way in the back those days. No freeways.
Jeez. So how did you know when Grandpa proposed that you'd say yes?
Not really. No. My parents really liked him. You didn't tell him that part, did you?
No, I did that to you.
Oh gosh, when he came to the house, and then to pick me up, when he finally called me and then finally talked me into going. So the other girl, his friend could have the other girl go too. She can't go unless I went. Pressure. So we did, we went to a movie. But when I got home, after one of our dates, that was just before you went off for Christmas back here.
Yeah.
And my mother came in, after this one night, and she says, she came in the bedroom while I was getting undressed, and she said, well, how'd you have a good time? And yeah, it was okay. And she says, he asked you to marry him, didn't he? And I went, yeah. I says, oh, I didn't say nothing. And she says, I knew when I opened the door, first time he came to the door, to the house, she said, I knew that's who you were going to marry. She had a sense about things through the years. It was just kind of spooky sometimes. Really, she knew things before they happened. And I went, okay. And so, then here we are. And then she got sick. Then she got ill, and then she was bedridden. By the time we were married, she was bedridden. And because when we came back from Salt Lake, she wanted me to put on my wedding dress so she could see me in it. And then she made me promise. She promised me one thing, she said, and I said, what? She says, when Grandpa and I both die, that you will go to the temple and have yourself sealed to us. And I went, oh, I guess I could do that. I'll be living in Utah. And then I thought, I says, oh, well, who am I sealed to now? And I went, oh yeah, I'm sealed to Cal. I'm sealed to him. Because then I thought, who was I sealed to before that?
She didn't know she had been adopted. She never knew that.
And getting that taken care of was really a big mess. Because when I went to try to do it, they said, oh, we don't seal you to grandparents. And I went, but I promised, you have to let me do a seal for them. I promised them. Before they died, I promised. And I was just sick. I thought, oh no, now I've lied. I told her yes, and I lied. And anyway, so he gave me a paper, and he says, write to this address, and that's where they get birth certificates. and have them look it up, and really find out who you are. And I went, okay. Which I did, and I got a letter back in a couple weeks. and they could not find me anywhere under that name.
Parker. She went through school, all through school,
That's
as
the wrong name.
Kathleen Parker. I married a Kathleen Parker.
So
And then-
our certificate still says Parker. I says, well, that's going to be fun explaining that to our kids someday. But anyway, they couldn't find anything, and then they wrote back and wanted to know, who did you live with, what other family members were around, and I sent that back. And then they within the week, there was another letter back with another birth certificate, with a birth certificate on it, with my name as Kathleen Sweet. And I went, what? I remember just falling against the wall and just falling on the floor, crying. I couldn't believe it. Why was my name the same as my grandparents'? So that's been a really big deal. So since then, I've gone by Kathleen Sweet, my maiden name. So it was just an awful hassle. Really, truly was. And sometimes it still is.
Did you end up getting sealed to their grandparents?
Oh yes, when I took it back to him, the man there, and he says, he looked at that and he says, "You got no problem." He says, "They're your parents," and I go, "Parents? Why would they ever tell me that?" Oh, I have a lot of questions when I get up there. I have a lot of questions. They just, back in those days, they just kept things secret.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there right from the beginning, because they adopted me. I adopted paper. Well, then I had to send for adoption papers. And they were like, when I was about a month old. It's when the adoption took place.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, before this happened, all this was going on. She was going to be adopted. Not adopted, but sealed to her grandparents, supposedly. And so her sister, her would be her aunt, didn't like the idea of her ended up being a sister to her. So she
Well, we asked her and her husband to come down and be our witnesses.
She would.
And she.
Her husband was her bishop.
Yeah. Oops.
So she
I
was.
says, well, that's too bad. I'll just get somebody else to stand in. I don't care. But this is what we're going to do on this day. And I knew they came down for conferences every year, October conference. And so I says, whatever. That's when it's going to be. And they showed up. So I'm sure her husband must have talked to her. a lot.
Actually rode down with them in the car coming down.
We didn't ride down. We were here. We lived in Salt Lake.
Well, I'm talking about, okay. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
That's all right. Well, good. So, at this point, you've gotten married. Where did you start your family?
In Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake.
Yeah, South Salt Lake, the south end down there.
And did Wendell spend any time up there with you, or did you start having kids?
We had 3 kids in Salt Lake. After we lived up on the avenues for the first, I don't know, not even a year, was it?
No.
I don't think it was a year. Almost, but not quite. Because we both worked up there in town. But then when we bought a house in the South Salt Lake, that's when we had the 3 boys, just bing, bing, bing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, I'm destined for boys.
So Wendell was your firstborn. What was he like growing up?
Inquisitive, just a normal kid, and very inquisitive. I don't know. My first child, that was, when your first child is like, it's like you're just haven't done that before yourself, and so trying to raise them is kind of different. But then the others come along and you just kind of, they fit right in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of strange. Not really. I mean, he was just a typical boy.
He was on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. We had a lot of fun after we moved here because then they had all those mountains up here to climb,
Mm-hmm.
and they did that a lot.
I remember one time went up in the foothills up here and he brought home a glow snake. And I said, "What'd you bring that down here for?" He says, "I just wanted to have it." And I said, "No, you're not going to keep it." So apparently he had connections with somebody, and he got on a bus with the snake, was going to take it to a
Pet shop.
pet shop. That's where he was going to take it, to a pet shop. But I guess he did leave it there. Never left it here. So I can't imagine him having that snake on the bus.
Okay, home, he maybe even Tom.
He probably had it kind of hid.
I'm sure he did. Oh, he was inquisitive, and he was active, very active.
Mm-hmm. So, and you said you had Todd just shortly after?
2 years after.
2 years after? What was he like?
He was active too.
Yeah.
But then those two fought a lot.
Mm.
That was quite an experience. I already told all about that down at the grocery store today. To one of the ladies in the pharmacy, because she was got to be good friends with us, and they'd moved and went down to up north there where they had some land,
Just around the bend,
and they had
heading to Brigham.
5 horses. 5 horses? What do you do? How come with 5 horses? She says, "Well, my husband loves horses." So she tell him about that. So I said, "Well, we had 3 of them, and I had one that I started out with. Todd was, okay, sorry.
That's weird.
Okay, anyway, Todd was going to school, and I had a friend up here in Pleasant View. They had horses, and that he'd always go up after school to go there to his friend's house so they could ride horses and whatever. And finally they had to go up and clean the corral out. So he had to help clean the corral out. They threw it in a manure spreader. But they had to have a tractor to pull the manure spreader. And what was the deal on the tractor? I don't know. But somehow Todd ended up having to drive the tractor, and he ended up running over his foot of the boy, or backing
His
up
friend.
his friend, and I don't know what the deal was, but I thought, geez, well, I guess that
His
got
friend
in
fell
there.
off, got bumped and fell off, and he ran over his foot. I don't remember exactly.
But he was always asking for a horse.
Oh,
And he come home today in the daytime and says, "Dad, can we get a horse? For I can have a horse." "No, Todd, we can't afford a horse." "No, we can't have a horse." And then he'd come home after this other deal, and I thought, well, maybe I better just think about it. But anyway, I never told him that. He says, he looked in the paper, and you see look where the horses were for sale. "Dad, there's a horse here for sale in the paper. Can I call this guy?" And I said, "Todd, I don't care what you do, just do it." Because he hounded me all the time. So he got on the phone and he says, "Dad, I got a guy on the phone. Will you talk to him?" "Yeah." So he hands the phone to me. tell me about the horse. He wanted me to go down and see him. Just, well, I guess I can just go see him and let him ride the horse or whatever he's gonna do and forget it. But anyhow, we ended up coming home with the horse.
No place to put it, but we had a horse.
How'd Grandma feel about that?
Oh, what do you think? I just thought, where did we get the money for that? You know, it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you know, you're just going paycheck to paycheck. I'm going, ugh.
Mhm.
Trying to take care of all these kids, and
And now a horse.
oh my gosh. Yeah, we had to find a place to have it. I mean, to keep it, plus feed it. And then he wanted to be in posse. Then they wanted to go posse. And Shalene wanted to go posse. They all. I
Mhm.
thought, oh my gosh.
Kind of, a big family thing.
We ended up
Yeah.
with,
Had a trailer that would haul two of them.
oh, that was something else. Anyway, we put all the horses down to the posse grounds.
And it was just down here. It wasn't very far.
Not very far away. And I had a guy friend of ours had a farm down here, had barns there, and we could rent a place we would keep the horses down there. I end up, so Shalene could have a horse. I ended up with another horse, a smaller one. And then, do you want to see the pictures?
No,
We
No,
can bring them
it's-
up later.
no.
They're out in the garage, hanging up out there. You've seen them. So anyway, Michelle she wanted to ride too, so we put her on the smaller horse, and Shalene would be on it. And finally, they end up having to have. Michelle did real well with it, but it was a smaller horse. But the other one, we went and got a friend of ours that had the horse, and they said, you can use our horse. So we had Shalene riding that one, and then we ended up with it. And so we had 3 of them down there. And then I had my mom and dad passed away, and so I ended up with certain money that I bought a 5-acre farm out west, so I could have the hay and all that stuff. And so anyway, had the kids, they were riding horses, posses and all that stuff.
You know, the parades on the 4th in downtown. Yeah. It was great.
They loved it.
And Posse became the captain of the posse one year. I went, oh my gosh, you guys. Oh, I just thought,
They'd
and the
ride-
girls wanted to dance, so
They'd ride in the rodeo.
Money,
before
money.
that.
everywhere.
Michelle was riding, they ride the horses in the rodeo down there, making, well, they did
Barrel racing.
barrel racing and all that stuff. And finally they had Michelle doing something, what was it? She was riding all around, and the horse bucked her off.
No, that was at the rodeo,
Yeah, that's what I say, at the rodeo.
downtown rodeo. The big, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was
Bucked her off,
right down into the dirt.
and
She was the queen, the little posse queen.
Todd jumped up.
He was sitting right by me. He just
I
went
went running right down there.
jumping down the, bleacher things,
Got
and-
there, and
over the fence and into the thing and picked her up, dusted her all off, grabbed the horse, slapped his face, and then put her back up on the horse.
What a good
That's
brother.
a brother for you.
Good brother.
Yeah. It was cute.
then Todd ended up riding in the rodeo.
It was fun though. We had a fun time doing that.
We enjoyed it.
After we got used to it. Then we were posse leaders for 1 year, and I went, what? We're looking at a city girl here. With here.
That's cool.
You do what you can for your kids.
Yeah. Your third son was Robert. What can you tell us about him?
My quiet son. Oh, this is what all the kids hate. He never got in trouble. Never once was he ever in trouble. And they hate that. I hate that every time I say it. Oh, no, he's just special son. And I says, he just didn't get in trouble. He saw what you kids did between you and Wendell. You two were little brats. And he decided he wasn't going to do that. He'd just go off. He loved to read.
He's always a read.
He'd sit in his toy box and read and look at books and read in the toy box on top of the toys. With his blanket, and he'd just sit there and read. And then I'd never know where he was, and I'm calling and screaming for him. I thought he was outside somewhere gone. No, he's downstairs in the toy box, asleep. But no, I never
He
had
was a very,
I never had a
very
problem with that kid, ever.
well, a special young man.
So all the other kids say, yeah, sure, he was a special one. And I says, well, he learned from the other two boys not to do all that stuff. And he didn't. He didn't. He was good. He was good in school, and he got tormented in school.
Got good grades.
He got good grades. He did.
Never had to tell him to do your homework or
Never
anything.
said a word to him.
He always took care of everything.
Oh, yeah.
The easiest to raise.
Very easy. I'd take him to Posse. We'd take him, because I said, you're going. Get in the car, you know. He'd grab his books and go to Posse, and he'd be sitting down there on the grass or something, looking at his books, going through his books. I went, oh my gosh.
Didn't want nothing to do with Posse.
No,
That's all right.
he didn't play out too much. He was just in here reading books all the time. That was okay.
I wish that would have been me.
Well, he liked it. He liked to read. In fact, when he finally went off to work in Salt Lake, he went by himself. He paid his way for school, college, everything. We didn't pay nothing. He says, no, I'm going to do it. And he did.
Did real well
It
for
was
his
a
life.
shock.
Still doing it.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, we're proud of him. Actually, we're proud of all of them.
Tell us about Shalene.
Shalane, oh, she was just Miss Know Everybody, Miss, you know.
Social butterfly.
Oh, yes. You know, and I said, you're not dating till you're 16. And that's it.
She loved to dance.
Oh yeah, loved to dance. She was in the drill team, dance, her and Michelle. Of course, they went, well, 1 year they were together, but yeah, they were in, what were they called? Warriorettes, that's what they were called, because they went to Weber High. Warriorettes. Anyway, yeah, they were the dancers of the time. I mean, Todd would even come in and they'd have talent shows here. You know, if it was downstairs, they were on the hearth, you know, standing up on the hearth, and they would do talent shows. Shalene would fix up the vacuum, you know, so that your handle that you'd use, you know, that was your microphone. Oh my gosh. They went through it. They would fix it up, and then we'd have to come down as parents and be the audience.
Family home evening.
Yeah, family. I thought family home evening, it was fun. Yeah, they do funny things.
That's cute.
Yeah, they all did. Todd was the funniest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
He was the joker and the funny one.
Well, Shalene, she, even now, just before, she was over the young women. What's her job was? She was the young women's in church.
I don't know. I can't remember
Anyway,
which one it was.
all the girls that always hang around her.
Oh, they
was
still are.
always
They
up for
still
the
are.
house.
She has all boys, so
And
she
she-
loves it.
She'd go out shopping with them. They say, "What's it? Have something floral or furl or whatever." anyway, they play games in
In the store.
grocery store.
Any store. Well, even
Yeah.
Walmart.
Yeah. So they said
Play store.
it was on TV. They said that on TV the other night. What was it? I can't remember. Anyway, they played games and had fun. And everywhere they went, they had fun together. And so they always asked her, "Do you want to go to the movie with us?" "Yeah, I'll go with you." Of course, she'd drive them, but she wanted. They always came and spent time with her. She was. All the girls just loved her. She had fun with them all. In other words, basically, she was one of the girls.
She wants a girl so bad.
How about Michelle, your second daughter? What was she like in school? Was she did she get along with her siblings? And
Yeah, she did. And
Yeah.
she did well in school.
she did posse too.
Oh, yeah.
She did good in school.
Yeah, she was the little queen.
In posse, she was, yeah.
She could ride a horse just as fast around those barrels as anybody else.
Of course, that horse knew exactly what to do.
Mm.
He knew.
He only kicked her off that once, and it was at the rodeo.
Mm.
My heart just sunk. I went, oh! I thought he was going to step on her, but he didn't. He went prancing away. I thought, oh my gosh. Anyway,
That's
The
cool.
only reason we let her ride because that horse was just such a wonderful horse. He knew exactly what to do. He could run the barrels automatically. He knew about how to do the barrels. He knew how to run the poles and all that stuff. He knew how to do it. All she had to do was hang on.
yeah, she just hung
And the
out of the
horse would
reins.
just do it.
Just run around by itself.
And he would
Couldn't
go
believe
fast
it.
too. He knew he had to go fast.
That's cool.
Like she says, she ended up being
It's like they'd
posse
see.
queen.
It's like they'd see the barrels down there, and they knew immediately what they're going to do
They're
with those
still down
horses.
there.
Or the poles, they knew exactly what they're supposed to do. So she didn't even have to do anything. It's just funny to watch.
That's
But
cool.
anyway, they had a good time. They talk about it sometimes, don't they? When they get together, they have fun.
We had all those trophies they won
Oh,
down there. Each one of them had lots of trophies.
2019. What year does this mark for years of marriage?
we got married in 1962 in June. I don't know. It's over 50. It's
56
almost.
years.
It's getting close to 60.
56 years.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it is.
Thing
56.
is, when she had her heart operation, that was our 55th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's right.
So I spent 12 hours at the hospital while she was being operated on. Wonderful.
So we don't really celebrate anniversary or nothing anymore, do we?
No, just as long as we're together, that's the main thing.
Yep.
We're just here annoying each other sometimes. Sometimes.
That kind of finishes up our questions. Do you want to share anything else with us before we tie it up? Just last words?
No, you probably got a little snip of everything.